Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we'll continue with part 220 of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe project. Okay, so continuing on from the previous lesson, I'm going to keep working on the headlight. I was able to extract all the curves over here, so let's actually create some surfaces to block it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this one over here, just the lens, and just to visualize it a little bit better, I'm just going to use, well, actually, before I do that, let me just make sure that this corner, okay, so that probably does need to be updated. So let's go ahead and take this one over here. I'm going to take the curve and this one over here. Now, this part probably won't be the final, but don't think it hurts to clean up a little bit. So I'm just going to untrim this piece over here like this, and let's just go ahead. Just going to snap this curve over here. I'm just going to do a curve section like this. And let's just go ahead and project this curve over here like this. And that should nicely clean that up. Okay, so now that's done. Let's go ahead and delete the construction history over here like this. And what I'm going to do is just to visualize things a little bit better and the gaps that is necessary for this part, I'm just going to go ahead and put a tubular offset. So for this one, let's see if 3 mils is enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a chain select like this. Just going to make sure that it runs all the way through. And now this is not going to be the final trim, but let's just go ahead and do that. Actually, you know what? Just to keep history, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say automatic for trim. And I'm just going to go ahead and hide the tube. So I'm just going to say invisible. Well, I'll have to do invisible again. And let's just take a look. All right. So I think, let's see. So technically this is supposed to be a static part, but I'm not quite sure what the usual requirement is for a headlight or any kind of lighting elements. So let me just make sure that this is sized correctly. I would say that's actually pretty close, although I'm starting to think, yeah, I would say no, I would say 3 mils is pretty good figure over here. Now, depending on the situation and depending on the location, it might seem a little bit bigger. Well, I would say that's a pretty good size, because if I just compare it like this so that the size is somewhat similar, yeah, I think that's a pretty good gap. So that's the gap we need, and of course I do need to offset the surfaces in order to get that. So here's what I'm going to do next. Now, actually, before I do that, I do need a thickness as well. So there's going to be, this is a gap just between the body panel and the lens. And of course, I do need a thickness actually on the part itself, so that part is not a paper thin. So if you look at this one, well, I don't know if you can really see it in this one. So if you see this image over here, there's going to be a thickness around the perimeter for the plastic housing, which actually encloses this. So I'll have to get that going as well. So I'll probably do another 3 mils on that one. So let me do this. I'm just going to, just to visualize it, first of all, I'm just going to delete this one like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a tubular offset again, 3 mils. Like this, and this time I'm just going to leave it as well, that's no good. So let me just untrim. Well, if I just do an untrim, I guess I can get my COS back. So basically that's going to indicate the thickness of the plastic part. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good for visualizing, so I'll continue on with that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I actually need to make a surround. So let's go ahead and do this. First of all, I'm just going to hide the body. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a draft over here, here, here for the bottom ones. I think these can be just drafted in X. Now, actually for this one, let's just give it a little draft. So maybe I'll just give it a draft angle of 3 like this, and maybe do like -3. Yeah. I think that's good. And for the side, this is where things get a little bit tricky. And on the top, however, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the surface, the surrounding surface to do that. So I already have a surface on the top over here, here and, oh, not that one, and here. So I think I'm just going to use these in order to do that. Now, yeah, I think that's going to make pretty good sense to do so. All right. So what I'm going to do is, in order to make the, well, actually, you know what? No, right now I can leave it at that. But this one, I do need to make sure that I get that one. So I just gotta make sure that this side one works. So right now, if I remember correctly, I think this is just done in parallel. So what I'm going to do, I think I can just use a rail like this then. So I'm just going to grab a rail. It's going to be parallel over here. And I'm going to pick this one, and I'm just going to pick this curve over here just to create that surface. Because it's parallel, the intersection should be identical to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, let's just copy and paste it. I'm going to go ahead and untrim it. And this should, the angle over here should match this one. Well, maybe it's a little bit off, but that's okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to recreate this one, but essentially that's what I'm going to use. So I think that's going to work pretty nicely. So let me go ahead and just delete this one over here. And let's just make sure that this angle works, because the intersection over here is going to be also somewhat critical. So I'm going to just go ahead and extend this piece over here like that. And I'm going to just hide this one. Yeah, I think the angle's not bad. I think with a fillet going like this, it should be pretty good. Now, my only concern, well, other than this number of spans over here, is that there is a little bit of fillet that's going on. So, yeah, I think that should be okay. Now, depending on the situation, I might have to change the angle in the middle. But at least for the base shape, I think this should be okay. So let's go ahead and clean this up. So first things first, I do need to make sure that there is no span in the middle. So I'm just going to snap it back, like extend it back, and I'm going to just extend it back out over here so that it's just a single span, and it should match exactly to the curve over here. And what I'm going to do is, well, I think it is time for me to just duplicate these surrounding surfaces. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste, and I'm just going to put in a default layer like this. The rest of them, the surfaces over here, I can just get rid of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that, well, let's just go ahead and create a little bit of thickness. So what I'm going to create a draft based on these, or the surrounding surfaces. So let me, oh, I already got rid of COS over here. Okay, let me just extend this one like that. Now let's just see if this is going to be curvature or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend this one over here. The shape is a little bit funky, so I'll have to make a little bit of correction there. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's see. This, I believe, is just the rail. So I'm just going to use the project over here. I'm going to just use, yeah, just project it over here like this. I don't think, well, maybe I will. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do this properly. So I'm just going to extend this surface over here like that. I'm going to extend this one. I'm going to extend this one. And I'm just going to go ahead and intersect over here so that they're all matching. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to extend it back because that's where all the other edges are, so that they all match nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over here as well, so that everything matches up. That one, let's see. I'm going to just go ahead and trim this one. Now, technically, this is where it needs to end up. So I guess that the axis over there doesn't really matter. Yeah, well, but at least I think what I have right now is pretty good. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do this one. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate this curve over here. And I'm just going to grab, well, let's actually match it up nicely. So what I'm going to do is just extend this back over here like that. I'm actually going to get rid of this. And I'll have to update the surround as well, but that's for later. And now I'm just going to snap a curve from here to here like this. It does look like there's a little deviation, but that's okay. Just going to snap it over here, snap it here, snap, copy and paste, and snap it here. And this is what I'm going to be using in order to create the fillet. So just project normal should do. I'm going to trim over here. Oh, looks like there's a little bit of deviation. Well, that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and extend this one. Extend this one, or not extend, pardon me. Trim that one, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this one over here. Now, because the deviation is not that much, it's probably 1/10 of a mil, if not smaller. So I think even if I just align it and it changes the position of the curve, I think that's totally fine. I'm just going to go ahead and do a bi-rail over here. Oh, and it doesn't look like I probably need to, I don't know why it's off, but let's just go ahead and make sure to align that one. So I'm just going to grab this one. I'm going to align to the edge of the surface like this. I'm just going to do a bi-rail like that. And let's just make sure, okay, there we go. And because it's just a bi-rail, 1 and 2 bi-rail, it's not a 2 and 2 bi-rail, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that the edge is lined up as well. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, so now delete the construction history over here, and now it's time to do this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the COS, and I am going to untrim this piece over here like this. Technically, I should probably make it a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and do that. So, oh, that's not desirable, to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to duplicate this edge, and I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. Just going to, because I have to offset all of these surfaces, just going to make sure to do them properly. So let me just untrim this one. Delete the COS on either side. And I'm just going to snap the curve over here, snap it here, snap it here. Let's do a center pivot, extend it like that. And let's just go ahead and project normal over here. Okay, so it looks like with that one, it's a little bit, well, it's deviating a little bit. I think it should be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the COS over here. I'm just going to trim this one. And I'm going to go ahead and trim this one as well. Oh, actually, before I do that, I don't think I made sure that the bottom one is the length matches. So I'm just going to go ahead, extend it back like that, and I'm just going to use this to create the fillet. Now, the bottom edge doesn't really matter, but it's just more of trying to make it a little bit cleaner. Okay, so bi-rail over here, so it's going to be 1 and 2. I don't know why these surfaces are a little bit off. I wonder if maybe it's because of this position over here. Maybe it's slightly off there. All right, but it's okay. All right, so I'm just going to align it over here, and I'm going to grab this curve over here, and I'm going to align it over here like this. And let's just go ahead and do a bi-rail again. So it's going to be 1 and 2. And I'm just going to align this piece over here. It's going to be edge. I'm going to align this piece over here, and that's also going to be edge. I don't need the curve here anymore because I already have a surface. So I think I should be good. All right, so let's just go ahead and delete the construction history. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just offset these 3 mils inboard so that I can actually do a proper trim of the lens. So Right now, I just roughly did it, but this is what's actually going to cut in this piece over here. So let's just go ahead and do an offset. Of course, I'm just going to use the regular offset with NUV because that is going to retain the CV structure the best. So I'm just going to do this. And of course, it does have to be 3 mils. Oh, not spans factors. I'm going to offset it 3 mils over here. And of course, I offset it the wrong way. Okay. So let's just grab all of these. So I'm going to hide, make it invisible for now. I'm going to offset it like that. Make sure the direction is good. 3 mils NUV. Now, when you're doing, now if it's a actual, well, depending on the situation. Now, usually these offsets are minimum, so you might want to do like a 3.1 just to make sure that it passes a checker. It really depends on the criteria, but depending on the situation, we probably want to do that. All right, so the offset looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to offset it again because I do need, this is just for the gap, and I do need, I do also need to do a 3 mil thickness of the part. Now this gap really depends on the vector and how the part, the gap is really dependent on how the part is going to be formed and all of those factors. This is actually very, I guess, a rudimentary, just rough, just offsetting just for the gaps. But if it's a true production environment, you do have to make sure that you take into account the criteria, the engineering requirements, how it's going to be drafted, vectors, and all that stuff. All right, so let me just to make it a little bit simpler, I'm just going to group this one and let's go ahead and offset it again. So this time I'm going to offset it 6 mils. To account for the thickness of the plastic tub, essentially. So I'm just going to say offset 6 mils like this, and that should be good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I do need to fillet all of them. And also, I just got to make sure that all of these boundaries are good. I got to check the continuity, and I'm going to start filleting so that I can actually build a part, and I'm going to go ahead and intersect them against the lens. So let's go ahead and do those. So first of all, let me just delete the construction history and let's just check the continue on these parts over here. So this one, it is not curvature. Oh, it is actually failing position over there. So let's just go ahead and take care of those. Now these ones, even if it's an offset, you'll see that there's a little gap. So let me just take care of those. Now, true production environment, you do have to constantly be checking for gaps because even a slight number of, or a slight movement. Oh, these ones I'm going to just keep them as a skew. Because any kind of slight movement could cause deviation to change. And if you check this over here, actually, yeah, as you can see, the max I think is a little bit more than the initial deviation that I had. So you just gotta check those, make sure everything's okay. All right, so I'm just going to align this one. I think I can just align a skew. It doesn't really matter because that's just for the plastic tub. So I'm going to be intersecting against the lens. Let's go ahead and just align these. So actually, let me show you. Okay, so right now, if I just check the deviation between, oh, actually, because this is an NUV offset, you'll see that it's a little, it's actually a little bit less than 3. So in this case, you would actually have to move the CVs around to make sure that it's actually 3 mils offset. This one is also a little bit off, but that's okay. It's for this one, I'm just trying to show you guys the point of this, but I'm not going to go into detail and make sure that everything's at 3 mils. As long as you guys are aware of the issue, that should be fine. But one of the things that I did want to demonstrate is because the effect on alignment on the offset value. So right now, the offset value was a 2.81 something, but as you can see, as I align it, the measurement deviates a little bit because of the CV structure change. Now, it actually helps in this case because the minimum got a little bit bigger. But you just have to be aware, and if you're in a production environment, you just got to make sure to check for those so that you are meeting either the maximum or the minimum criteria or dimensions that you guys need to fit into it. All right, so let's just go ahead and go to this side. Now this one should be pretty close. Let's just check. Yep, that's retained curvature, so that's good. No worries there. I'm just going to delete all the COS over here, and I'm going to also get rid of COS over here. And let's just go ahead and delete the construction history on this one. And I do need a fillet on these ones over here. So the sizes should already be given. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do, well, let's see. Now, technically, I don't have to fit it perfectly, but at least let's get it close. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide the lens over here. I'm going to bring this out over here. And let's just do a quick measurement of the fillet size. So, yeah. So this one, I probably have to do a draft after this one. So I'll have to take a look. But for now, let's just go ahead and do the... Oh, actually, you know what? I should probably pay attention to that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, I think this one should be okay. So I think I'm going to do this one first. So let me just do a quick measurement over here. Now this side, with this fillet going over here, I think I definitely need to take into account what I'm going to do for this area. Yeah, I think that requires a little bit more attention. Okay, but this fillet shouldn't be a problem. So let's go ahead and do this one first. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick measurement from here to here. So let's just go ahead and measure that. Okay, so it looks like it's about 40. So this one, I don't think I really need to offset it. So I'm just going to just do 40 for all the internals as well. So 40. So I'm just going to pick this one, auto. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not edge aligned, but that's okay. I'm going to do the same thing over here. The outside one, that is just well, essentially it's just, well, I don't really need it. It was just so for the surround, it was to create an offset width. So what I can do is I can just put it in the height layer, and that should be good. Okay, so this one on the other hand, it probably does need an offset. So let's go ahead and do that also. Oh, actually, you know what? The distance, I think I got this wrong. Okay, because I actually measured from here to here, whereas the quarter fillet measures from here to here. So I do need to make it a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, let's see. Let's go ahead and snap a curve from here to here and here to here. And let's try to fit it. Now, I'm just going to fit it roughly. It doesn't need to be super exact. Actually, you know what? I think a better method would be to just measure the distance between here and here. So that's about 41. So not bad. Maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller. So I think that should be good. And I'm just going to do the same thing over here as well. And yeah, call it good. All right, so it's not going to be exact, but that's okay because this is just going to be intersected against the lens surface that I created in the previous lesson. So I think it should be, yeah, I don't think there should be any concerns. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this fillet also. So this one, let's see, I'm just going to quickly do a measurement and see how big it is. Okay, so it's about 70. Now, the only problem with this one is it's a little bit biased towards this side, so I'll probably have to do it manually. Let's take a look. So I'm just going to do maybe not 70, but maybe like 65. Pretty sure it's going to have the same issue over here. Okay, so that is a problem. As you can see, it's deviating a little bit over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build this manually. so that it doesn't have that kind of deviation. So let's just go ahead and pick these surfaces over here. And I think what I can do is I can just do a draft. So I'm just going to draw a draft like this at degree 3, and I'll just use this in order to do the offsets. Now, the only problem is I don't like how the CV is being crunched up over here as it goes towards the outboard side, or not outboard side, towards the rear. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to just basically still offset it, but just take this front edge in order to create the fillet. So let me show you by what I mean. So I'm just going to offset it 3 mils, or well 6 mils over here, and I'm going to offset it 3 mils over here like this, and basically I'm just going to use that in order to create these surfaces over here. So I'm just going to, let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this edge, and I'm going to duplicate this edge, but I'm going to delete the offsets over here. And basically, I'm just going to make it parallel. Now, I know that this one is a little bit off. You can try to match it, actually, if that's okay. So let's do this. I'm just going to, oops, delete the construction history over here because that's going to be off. Let me just take the front off, and I'm going to take the lens off or make it invisible. This one, I actually don't need anymore, so I think I can just afford to put it over here. And in order to make things clean, I'm just going to intersect it like this over here as well. And let's just extend it back. Whoops. I'm going to take this one, extend it back like this. Take this one, extend it over here. Take that one and extend it like that. Okay, so that's good. And well, it's a little bit off, but that's okay. I'm just going to align it over here. So make sure that's curvature here. Take this one, curvature here, and I'm going to make sure that it's curvature on the other side too. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take this over here. Well, they should be the same, so I'll just paste it like that. And let's just go ahead and project. Over here, normal should be good. Trim there. Oh, it looks like it's a little bit short, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. While I'm at it, let me just scale it so that I don't have to click on it to trim it. Okay, so that's good there. I'm just going to do a bi-rail 1 and 2. Like this. Okay, that's going to be curvature. Actually, that doesn't really matter either because I do have to align the rear edge. Well, no, actually I don't have to, but well, doesn't hurt. So let's just go ahead and align over here, 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 and here, like that. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. All right, so well, some of this around is done, but I still have to do this one over here, and I have to do this one over here, and I think at the same time I gotta figure out, because this is the actual start of the plastic inner tub, I gotta figure out what I'm going to do about the draft surface that goes in. So we'll continue this in the next lesson. All right, so that is it for part 220. We will pick this up in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching. Want to learn Autodesk Alias and digital sculpting? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you'll find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including curve creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the entire car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.